in. It is great to see you. And you, and you. What a beautiful crowd. Greetings, everyone. I am grateful for your presence and your participation as we explore the theme of being positioned for purpose. Today, I'll share a bit of my story and a story from ancient times. The first century, in fact, that holds significant relevance for us in the 21st century. It's the story of Lydia of Thyatira, modern-day Turkey, a biblical narrative in Acts 16. Upon my research, some inferencing in my own character development, I learned that Lydia's story is full of lessons about leading yourself, finding purpose in pain, gaining clarity in chaos, and moving from fear to fulfillment. I'm Yolanda Greer, your audacious and gracious thought partner. I help leaders experiencing imposter syndrome step into clarity of vision and purpose for intentional impact towards personal and professional impact. Are you ready? Let's go. Have you ever thought of the varied hues and meanings of the color purple? There's so many, and today we'll see the different sides of purple. Has there ever been a time in your life, perhaps it's even now, when you felt there's more for you to do? You're doing all that you can, yet your heart desires something more? Have you encountered obstacles, challenges, experienced fears, failures, heartaches, or heartbreaks, endured significant losses, or maybe sat in seasons of chaos or confusion, yet despite all that darkness, you hear this inner small voice saying, there's still something more for you. I certainly have. If you can connect and relate to that, type, oh yeah, in the chat. I've been there several times. Several years ago, there was great heartbreak and heartache, seemed like on every side in our family when we experienced a really chaotic and challenging time. You see, my husband's doctors were preparing me to be a single mother of 3. At this point, we had been married for about 13 years, and I hadn't even experienced my husband to have a cold or a flu, nothing like that. But something was off, and he was changing, and upon several tests and doctor's visits, we learned that he was in renal failure. Our oldest was in the 7th grade, and the youngest was in 3rd. And there we were learning that my husband was experiencing renal failure and needed a kidney transplant immediately. His kidney function levels were rapidly declining. And although he made it on the kidney transplant list, we were told that because of his rare blood type, it would be in upwards of 5 years before he could possibly get a kidney. Later that first year, I was told he wouldn't even make it to the new year. Our world was flipped upside down and shaken all around. Can you relate to such a time in your life? I hope not. Faced with needing to be my family's sole provider, I had a choice to make. I could succumb to the heartache, the fear, or I could develop my skills and my talents to next level income. Oh, did you think I was going to say next level impact? Well, at that moment, all I was thinking about was increasing my income. For years, I had been a teacher, and that salary just simply wouldn't suffice. And even upon my first teacher paycheck, I went and enrolled myself to become a realtor. So I taught and did real estate on the side for several years of my early career. I loved my family, and I would do whatever it took to support them. Do you love anyone so much that you would go to great lengths to ensure their protection, their provision, their peace of mind? Well, here's a fun fact about me. My name, Yolanda, means violet flower, not violent. Although my husbands and kids might disagree when they're not complying to my wishes, violet is a shade of purple, as you know. This name's meaning and my affinity for Lydia are of no coincidence. Purple, the color that Lydia dealt in, it also symbolized pain, grief, and loss. And we were experiencing what I later came to understand of anticipatory grief. For Lydia, it must have represented the heartache she must have endured becoming a widow and having to step up as the head of her household. It's also said that the color of the robe that was placed on Jesus by the Roman soldiers was purple. And they did this as they beat him and hailed insults. Imagine his pain and suffering. And yet he endured it all. He stepped up because he loved us. While purple may represent pain, it also represents promises for transformation. We'll see this in Lydia's story. And as many of you know, the opportunity that came because of Christ's compassionate pain. Do you know the meaning of your name? It may be worth discovering. And in what ways can you identify with purple as pain and transformation as a result of that pain? Now, Lydia was a noble dealer of purple cloth, a luxury item in her time, found in the mollusk gland of predatory snails. It took approximately 10,000 snails to produce 1 gram of purple dye. I wonder how painful that labor was. And imagine the skill and the determination, let alone the business acumen she needed to thrive in that male-dominated market. She was a widow and the head of her household. And in the midst of personal and societal challenges, Lydia used her business savvy to relocate to Philippi, a place with more affluent clientele who could easily afford the desirable and regal purple garments to help ensure she could provide for her family and the servants. Like Lydia, when I faced adversity, I didn't succumb to that heartache or to the fear. I took my degree, experiences, and skills as a teacher and realtor to reposition myself back to school, to obtain a master's in school administration, to acquire a position that would financially sustain my family should my husband pass away. That mental, physical, and emotional repositioning allowed me to become a highly effective principal, a director of leadership development, and even a chief talent officer. Through this journey, I discovered renewed purpose in that pain, reframing my challenges to stepping stones for increased impact and greater fulfillment. Think about your own life. What gifts and talents do you have that you can leverage to overcome obstacles? How can you reposition yourself to create new opportunities? This might mean pursuing further education, starting that new business you've always dreamed of, or simply changing your mindset to embrace new possibilities. Lydia found clarity in her purpose through her business and her faith. By strategically repositioning herself in Philippi, just outside the city gates along the trade route, she ensured her business thrived and set herself up to provide for her household. She created a space for herself where her gifts could flourish. Are you flourishing? Are you thriving? To what degree? Consider your current state and then determine your ideal state. What will it take for you to get what you desire? Similarly, when I faced confusion and uncertainty, I found clarity by identifying my strengths and leveraging my opportunities. By returning to school and pursuing a higher role in education, I was able to establish a means for my family and I found elevated fulfillment in my career. I created a path from the chaos and the unknown. How can you find clarity in your confusion? Start by identifying your strengths and passions. I mean, when's the last time you took a personal inventory? What are you good at? What do you love to do? More importantly, what do you want to do? Use these insights to guide your decisions and your actions. Clarity often comes when we align our actions with our core values, our strengths, and our vision. What are your core values? For me, faith, family, and shining a light on others. So what I do gets to align to that. And when I review my calendar, and if it doesn't show time and intention for these things, then it's time for me to pause. There is great power in pause. To exhale, catch your breath, assess where you are compared to where you want to be, and set actions accordingly. Lydia's move to Philippi was strategic. She positioned herself in a place where her business could thrive and her family could be provided for. Likewise, her physical positioning, that willingness to relocate and adapt to new place, new people, and new cultural dynamics was key to her success. And here, purple signifies ambition. Her mental resilience was evident in her ability to navigate that male-dominated industry. I imagine at some point, she embraced her new role as provider and used her gifts to overcome societal challenges. What challenges have you already overcome in life? Use those wins to fuel your next win. As a widow, Lydia probably faced significant emotional challenges. Yet she channeled her emotions into building a successful business and helping to create a supportive community. Do you control and steer your emotions, or do they drive you? Lydia's financial acumen allowed her to move locations and thrive in a luxury market. Her ability to manage and grow her resources ensured her family's stability and enabled her to support others. Her home was large enough for her family, the servants, and in her story, guests and large gatherings. Her relational skills were evident in her hospitality and her ability to gather like-minded individuals for prayer and support. She built a strong network that helped her fulfill her purpose. What's the state of your network? Is it all that it can be to help you reach your goals? If not, with whom do you need to engage to develop productive relationships for greater outcomes? Where do you need to reposition yourself? This could be a physical move, a career change, or that shift in mindset. Position yourself where you can best use your gifts and talents to make the impact you desire to make, and be open to new opportunities and willing to step outside of the comfort zone. Are you willing? If not, why not? There was a time when I was an assistant principal working with an amazing leadership team and great educators. And although the challenges of the school were significant and great and daunting at times, it was a good place. Things were fine. I was supported by my leadership, by my supervisor. I enjoyed many of the people I worked with. And yet, there came a time when the school leader had a greater calling to go support a school that had greater needs. And I began to think and wonder, should I step up into this leadership position here, or should I branch out? So I began deciding what I wanted in that season. So I started applying. to principal positions for other types of schools. But suddenly, roadblocks begin to come and disappointments and no return phone calls. And sure enough, eventually a school came that I was invited to participate in the interview process. And man, it felt like the one. And I was going for it. And I came to the final step, that community interview. And here I was going in all excited, having done extensive research, and I was ready for any question that they could throw my way. But I get a phone call just as I'm nearing the parking lot to enter that school for that community interview. And I was told, never mind, you don't need to come. We're going to stop your process now. We're going to go with the other person. We'll just tell the audience that you didn't have the experience needed for this school, which couldn't have been further from the truth. Later, I found out. I know I saw you. You felt that too? Yeah, my gut turned in that moment as well. But later I found out that there were intentions for me to stay at the school I was at, to be the workhorse for the leader that they were going to bring in. Well, you can imagine that did not sit well with me. And so I had a choice again to make. You see, life is full of choices, and we get to make them. We get to own those moments and make the choices, even if it means stepping out of that comfort zone, even if it means entering into the unknown. But I decided once again to use those challenges and the hurt and the disrespect as stepping stones towards something more. I'm so glad I did. I ended up landing an amazing school as the principal, so much greater and more dynamic than I ever could have imagined. And there was an army of support for me as a new leader. It was an amazing, wonderful experience. But you see, had I not been willing to broaden my horizons at that time, to consult some wise people that I knew would help me to make a solid and sound decision, I could have been stuck and miserable. It's so important to own the choices that you do have. One of the most critical aspects of positioning for purpose is identifying your people. Lydia gathered with other women on the Sabbath to pray. This group became a source of strength and encouragement. It's essential to surround yourself with people who'll support you, who'll stretch you, who'll inspire you towards something more. Clarity can come from the confusion when you have the right people in your village. Those people who will uplift you to help you be your best. And Lydia and those women gathered on the Sabbath for prayer. And one day she had an amazing, almost unreal experience, all because her heart was open. She was willing to receive something more. And as a result, that spirit of readiness generated a detour for the Apostle Paul, a man of prominence and of spirit-filled power, which led him to her. As a result of that unlikely encounter and experience, the fulfillment of her purpose began to be realized beyond what she probably could even imagine. Because now she had a new identity in Christ, and she became a host for gospel gatherings. When searching for a school leadership position, I had people who encouraged me forward, prayed with me regularly, people with whom I had a positive historical rapport that now sat in positions of power and decision-making, and people willing to provide me feedback for my professional refinement. Some did so lovingly, and others more like sandpaper, but it didn't matter because it was all for my good. I leaned on those different groups of people unashamedly to get to where I wanted well, where rather I needed to be. And like Lydia, from a place of need and request, I've been spiritually, mentally, and emotionally supporting a group of women leaders since the COVID quarantine. And it was caring and concerned individuals in my sphere that caused me to most recently spend the last year repositioning to prioritize my health. And in that, I've learned that having strong and healthy relationships can have a positive overall effect on one's mental and emotional well-being, thus increasing life satisfaction. Isn't that what we all want? So I'm now more purposeful than ever in weekly connections via the phone or text, in-person lunches or dinners for my overall well-being and for those I serve. You see, it's not enough for us to talk about what we should do or want to do. We have to be about it. Did you catch that? Let's not talk about it. Let's be about it. Truly, we have to be about it. What actions are you avoiding that you know if you stepped out, things would be better? A year ago, when my health was a hot mess and I was serving in a misaligned to my purpose role, I made a big decision. I left a life of salaried pay, benefits, and gracious retirement plans to go full time with my leadership development, coaching, and consulting business. My family and beloved sphere of influence, they encouraged me to it and now through it. The village matters, and hashtag healthy relationships matters. Do you have the right people spurring you on? Who are you edifying? As Proverb tells us, like iron sharpening iron, so one person sharpens another. So who are your people? Who are those individuals who lift you up and help you see the bigger picture? By identifying and connecting with them, you can find clarity and support that you need to pursue your purpose with confidence. Being in a supported network is crucial for your personal and your professional growth. Lydia's story goes on to teach us that by embracing our roles, especially when they change, with our talents, we can move from fear to fulfillment. She owned her role as a businesswoman and the head of her household and used her professional position and hospitable spirit to create a lasting impact. After all, she is named in the Bible. For me, I thought if I'm going to become a single mother, I'm stepping up big so that my kids and I don't miss a beat. I knew earning a master's degree would help secure the type of salary needed to make up the difference in my husband's absence. In my journey, I learned to move past my fears by focusing on my family, their needs, and on my purpose, which is to educate, equip, and empower others for life. That is my personal mantra. Whether I was teaching in a classroom or at Sunday school, serving as an assistant principal or a principal, director of leadership development, facilitating a Bible study, or hosting a life group, or even operating as a chief talent officer, I have worked to not allow fear to have power over my gifts and talents, because it is for me to be here to help educate, equip, and empower others for life. This shift in perspective from the problem to my purpose allowed me to see beyond my immediate struggles and work towards a greater goal far beyond myself. So do you see my name, the color purple, also denotes strength and independence. But the best part for you is that you don't have to be named Yolanda or have purple as your favorite color to walk in your strength toward confidence, freedom, and peace of mind. Are there any fears holding you back? If so, name and confront them head on. focusing on your purpose and the positive impact you want to make. By shifting your perspective from fear to focusing on life fulfillment, you can take bold steps toward your goals. Lydia's business of dealing purple at the city gates along that trade route symbolized luxury, wealth, and royalty. She was the queen of her territory professionally and personally. Her success in this area allowed her to do things I imagine that were beyond her imagination. Because Lydia navigated through the hues of purple, she became the first recorded European convert and a financial funder of Paul's ministry. Purple represents the potential we all have to create something valuable and impactful. So what's your purple? What unique talents and abilities do you have that can cause you to achieve your most audacious dreams while also creating something of value and impact for others? Recognize, embrace your gifts, and use them to fulfill your purpose. Someone is waiting on you to make a difference in their life. Lydia's story is also about provision. She used her resources to support her family and her newfound community. Ultimately, we are blessed to be a blessing. In my own life, I've used my talents and experiences of late to create Elevate You Consulting, a business that helps others reposition themselves for greater impact and fulfillment. By repurposing my gifts in this current season, I've been able to be a co-provider for my family and support others in their journey. So have you been wondering about the outcome of my husband? Hopefully you've been leaned in and you noticed the hints along the way, because unlike Lydia, my beloved is still with us today in 2024, almost 13 years from the date of his miraculous kidney transplant. Our story is movie worthy, as we literally received a call in the middle of the night stating that there was a perfect, as in zero mismatched donor in the ideal state of donation, awaiting to change the lives of 7 individuals. I had the honor and the privilege to sit in the hospital waiting room with 6 other families that day, all awaiting with great expectation for our loved ones' lives to be enhanced. And so because a thoughtful, purposeful human being who was an organ donor, because of him, we experience purple as love, deep love, a wealth of blessings. How can you use your resources and talents to provide for yourself and others? Remember, we are blessed to be a blessing. Consider how you can share your success and support those around you. As we reflect on Lydia's story, let's remember that we are all positioned, each of us. Yes, you, even you. We are all positioned for purpose, and we find purpose in our pain, purpose in our positions, purpose in the people we choose to connect with, and purpose in the blessings that we desire to be. Like Lydia, we can lead ourselves through shades of purple, harnessing our strengths, embracing our callings to fulfill our purpose. And in doing so, we enrich our lives and profoundly impact the world around us. So I challenge you today to position yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally for greater possibilities. Discover your own identity and purpose through life's challenges, and identify your people, those who will support and uplift you, support you towards a fulfilling life. It's a lot to take in. But I'm curious, what morsels of momentum are you taking away from this session? Please add them in the chat so we can glean from each other. It's amazing what we can learn from the stories of others, the meanings of our names, and the shades of colors. I want this learning to continue for you. So if you would do me a favor, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll have a gift for you. But before that, out of curiosity and by a show of hands, how many people here felt that you've gained something really, really valuable? All right, all right. I see those hands. Thank you. This is awesome. Would you be so kind as to take a very, very quick, less than 2-minute survey? All you have to do, grab your phone, open your camera, scan the QR code or the link, and enter that code ELEVATE. That's ELEVATE, and complete the survey. When you complete the survey, you'll get a free Position for Purpose reflection and action guide to maximize the value of this session. I want to know what you liked about my presentation so I can do more of it. I also want to know how to make it even better for you in the future and for others. I'm on a mission, you guys. I want to get my message in front of as many people so that I can elevate the world. And when folks like you give me feedback, that's exactly how I can do it. This is part of that providential blessing I spoke of. So please take the 2 minutes, scan that QR code, grab that link, enter ELEVATE, and help me help the world. And while you're doing that, I'll just share 2 client testimonials with you. I know I love a little bit of music, and I thought you might like that while you're doing the survey. So we'll just let that play here for a moment. Again, thank you for taking the time to complete that. Yes. All right. So I really, really appreciate when my clients take the time to give me feedback or even testimonials. And I selected 2 of them. One that coincides with something I shared with you today about being values driven. There was a CEO that I met at an event, and she asked me if I could support one of her employees. This young lady in her late 20s, she was unhappy, just not finding contentment personally or professionally. And it was my absolute honor to come alongside of her and support her. And through a really precise, transformational life coaching process, we were able to determine that she was lacking some clarity on her aspirations and her values and how she was going to go about achieving what she desired. By the end of our coaching sessions, she had identified her values. That was the greatest thing for her. She's begun putting those action steps into place. And even just recently, she reached out and has asked to recontract with me because she saw the benefits of having that person in her village that could support her towards her aspirations. What a blessing. And I especially love this one because many of my clients would actually agree with this. You heard me introduce myself as the audacious and gracious thought partner. Well, those names, those descriptors, comes from my clients, not from me. I have been said that I am a very firm yet supportive coach. I'm not here to pacify. I'm here to help people get to next level impact. So if you are in that space of wanting to be stretched while also being inspired, you might want to connect with me, and I'd love to support you toward your aspirations. As we leave here today, take a moment to reflect. All the little nuggets that you've received, and I hope there's been many. What action will you take in the next 7 days to move you closer to fulfilling your purpose? Write it down, make it plain, commit to it, and share it with someone who will hold you accountable so that you can make a difference one purposeful step at a time. Thank you again for being here with me, and make it a purpose-driven life.